All right. Well, before we started the stream, I talked a little bit about how we just got an update from the National Hurricane Center at 11 a.m. Obviously, we start our stream at 11 a.m. So now I've had some time to look into what the National Hurricane Center has said about this brand new system, and I'm ready to break it down for you. So let's dive right into it. Our third named storm of the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season has officially formed. This is Tropical Storm Cristobal. That is way, and I mean way out in the Atlantic. You can see it's over 1,000 miles to the northeast of Bermuda, actually approaching Azores, and it is very, very far away from the United States coast. So this is not a system that will impact us directly by any means, and it's a system that's actually moving fairly quickly. You'll notice it's moving east at 25 miles an hour, and how much distance it's already covered as just a remnant low pressure system earlier on in the week. It's traveled pretty far. So here's the thing with this system. You're about to see the cone, and it's going to look pretty unimpressive. A very, very, very short cone that we have here because two things, really. The system is moving so quickly that it's running into some extremely cold waters as it heads into Thursday. By the time it makes it over into these cold waters, it really won't be able to, one, develop further, or two, even support the current development that it has right now. The other thing about that very quick movement is it's sort of detaching the actual strong winds, the bad weather, all of the associated showers and thunderstorms from the actual center of circulation. So we don't have the satellite turned on right now, but what you would be able to see is the fact that the center of circulation and all of those showers and thunderstorms are pretty detached. Now, this might sound kind of familiar because that's actually what happened when we had Tropical Storm Arthur at the beginning of the year. It wasn't a super well organized system because it was a bit detached. Or actually, that was Tropical Storm Bertha, excuse me. It wasn't a very well organized system because the center of circulation was a bit detached from the actual showers and thunderstorms. It had some wind shear that was knocking the system down, and that was Bertha down in the Gulf due to all the wind shear that was down there. So a similar situation with this system, and again, because of how quickly it's moving into cold waters, it won't be able to last very much longer. It's at kind of that minimum requirement for tropical storm force winds. 40 mile an hour winds, or now I guess 45 with this latest update. A low pressure of 1,008 millibars, so not extremely strong in terms of the low pressure system. And again, it's only expected to continue to weaken as we head into the rest of the day today and as we head into tomorrow. So this officially checks off the C name for the list. It is going to be the third named storm of the season, but it's not the only thing that's going on over in the Atlantic. Again, here is that system way up here in the northern Atlantic, but down here, as we get a little bit closer to the west coast of Africa, we actually have two more systems that the National Hurricane Center is watching. The first and foremost is actually the system I thought was going to claim the next name before that system that you just saw up there. This is another low pressure system that is part of a tropical wave that rolled off the west coast of Africa and formed this low pressure system with some disorganized shower and thunderstorm activity surrounding it. So what this is it's expected to move into what we call in kind of a favorable environment for continued tropical development. This has been given high chances of development over the last couple of days. Now we set at an 80% chance of development over the next 2 days and an 80% chance of development over the next 7 days. What that means is that this is very likely to become a tropical depression by the time we get into the end of the week. This has already been designated as an invest. If you're not familiar with that term, invest is something that the National Hurricane Center gives an area of potential tropical development when essentially they're investigating into it a little bit further. So that's what they're doing with this system. Typically, they don't designate areas invest unless they think a tropical formation is likely sometime within the week. So this is likely to become a tropical depression as we head into the end of the week as this continues to move into this somewhat favorable environment. Beyond that, obviously, that remains to be seen, but we definitely are keeping an eye on this system, and we will likely be hearing about a tropical depression as we get into the end of the week. But hot on the tails of this system is a brand new tropical wave that just rolled off the west coast of Africa. It is now being monitored for potential tropical development as well, given low chances of development right now, but that's really because it's still a pretty young, early system. A 20% chance of development in the next 2 days, a 30% chance of development in the next 7 days. So it's unlikely that this is obviously just going to take off and become a tropical depression or storm while it sits right here. But as it pushes a little bit further into the Atlantic and moves into this same favorable environment that this other low pressure system is in, this is when we could see some gradual development into some sort of tropical characteristics. So Obviously not high chances just yet, but definitely bears watching as it moves into this region of the Atlantic, especially with this other system using that environment to kind of fuel its own system. So the tropics have officially woken up. This is not bizarre for this time of year as we head into kind of early August and really August all the way through September. That is when we tend to see a huge uptick in tropical activity. That's just when all the environmental conditions tend to fall into place for tropical development. Sea surface temperatures get warmer, the wind shear starts to die down, Saharan dust dies down, more tropical waves are rolling off the west coast of Africa. So it's not abnormal that we're seeing an uptick in activity. It's actually quite common for this time of year, especially when we tend to see the very first hurricane of the season form on average right around August 11th. So that's kind of where things stand right now. Obviously, Cristobal not going to be a super impactful system, but it is a system nonetheless. So we officially have 3 named storms this year and 2 other areas that we should watch for potential development. So that's what's going on with the tropics. But of course, we have a whole lot of weather to cover here in our area as well.